Really, if you wanted to script an epic homecoming, you know, taking some damage and then coming back and pulling it off, how are we feeling right now?
Right now I feel pretty speechless, sore, but I'm thankful and I'm so grateful to have made it to this point in my career to fight in front of my hometown the way that I did. And like you said, to be able to overcome and adapt, it's just a telling tale of what my entire life has been like.
Yeah. I mean, you probably had an idea that you were going to be getting a nice reception, but to actually experience it, to actually walk out to hear them chanting your name, I mean, can you put into words what that felt like?
When we first got here, in the locker room, you can see the televisions playing out what's happening in the crowd, and I was a little underwhelmed when I started to see the crowd because there wasn't a lot of people here. But I thought to myself, you know, it doesn't matter how many people are here. But when I actually started to make my walk into the arena and I could actually hear the ovation when they announced my name before walking out, I had goosebumps running down my entire body. And then when I broke the curtain, as they were staging me to walk out, I mean, everybody. I'm talking everybody. And I could actually see the crowd, and it was damn near full. And it was just the song that I walked out to being a theme, anthem song of the people here in San Antonio and that Mexican culture. It was incredible.
Yeah.
It was like, it reminded me of when Darren Till walked out to Sweet Caroline.
Yeah. That's the English anthem.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very happy for you, man. I can see how much it means to you on your face. The fight itself, you know, it's not very often we see someone take a spinning kick to the face a few times in a fight and be able to live to tell the tale. Talk to us about that first round and what was going on in there.
I need to do some self-reflection because for some reason, ever since the Contender Series fight, my first round, they're a little bit slow. That's not the kind of guy that I am. When I do sparring and stuff and training, I'm able to get my wheels turning into third gear pretty quickly. So I need to get that together because I'm taking unnecessary damage. I'm an evasive fighter, and I feel like it's not showing quite yet. So, I mean, Daniel had power, and usually I take that first shot and I kind of shake it off because I got a good shit on me, but damn, that guy can stick. He had a hammer on him. So I was telling my coaches there was a brief moment there when he landed one of those shots that I thought to myself, hey, I'm just going to go down swinging and, you know, we'll pick up the pieces after. But I felt my legs get back under me, and I decided just to use my lateral movement to get away from danger.
You know, I don't know if you can really sort of think it through in there, but obviously he's going, he's throwing everything he has to try and finish that fight. When you see the end of the round, is part of you like, okay, well now he must be gassed, right?
Yes, and no, because yes, I know that he was for sure like putting a lot of energy out into getting that finish. However, you know, maybe in between the first and second, because he had me so hurt, he's like, you know what, I just got to keep this going a little longer. But coming out from the second round, I mean, I've had wars before, and I will always fight and fight and fight as long as I'm conscious. So I knew coming out of that first round, I shook off the cobwebs and I was ready to go in there and have a war till the end of the third round. And I just felt like my dog showed.
Yeah, and last one for me, I mean, you did get the finish, but it took a while, right? Like you were hitting him, and
yeah,
you were just enough to sort of keep it going.
Yeah.
Was any part of you, as you were going, you're like, oh my God, this guy's going to survive this, and then I'm going to be the gassed one?
Well, yeah, because I kept hearing Jason Herzog say, like, I need you to get out of there, I need you to get out of there. And there was a second where I was going to be like, yo, what do I have to do to get this guy out of here, man? Come on, stop the fight. But I was looking for different openings. There was a couple times where he almost had that calf slicer in. And I was able to back fist him and get out of the calf slicer. I threw a couple downward elbows. I threw one, and Jason was like, hey, don't do that. So I put a little arch on it. I was looking for body elbows, looking to hit him in the legs, anywhere just to soften and pepper him up as long as I needed to until I could get that finish.
Congrats.
Thank you, sir.
CJ,
Yes,
just a couple questions. I mean, obviously, you were not feeling very good, and as you mentioned, in hindsight, you would like to do first round better. What were you thinking to go into the second round to really ended up getting that win?
In the second round, you know, whenever the fight gets that bad, I kind of take myself out of the driver's seat and I let my coaches be my guides. You know, I in a sense just become their avatar. So my coaches, I went out to, you know, and just completely became a student. I sat down, they said, listen, he threw everything he had at you, and that's all he had, and you're still here. So when you go out there, start touching him again, stop giving him so much range to throw those crazy punches, close the distance on him, and start fighting your fight. And so I went out there, and I'm going to have to watch that second round back because I don't exactly remember how I ended up on top of him, but I know that I landed a body shot in the second round, And that was the first time that I felt him kind of like wither a little bit, and I thought, oh shoot, there it is. I feel the chink in his armor now, and you start just like peppering him a little bit more.
Is that when you gain that confidence? Because that grounded pound obviously helped, and I'm sure San Antonio cheering you on fueled that fire.
Yes, ma'am, exactly. I felt my confidence growing, and as I started to adjust on the ground, I felt his transitions becoming a little bit slower, a little more labored, and I didn't feel like my legs or my lungs were that gassed yet. My arms felt great too, so I thought, you know what, if I can just keep surfing his body and touching him, I don't see him. He wasn't fishing for underhooks. He wasn't fishing for an instep to try to get out, and I've seen that from Daniel before. I mean, he's very tough. However, there's something that happens when he becomes labored, he stops fighting for position. So I just continue to find new openings.
And last question, I'm sure everybody's just wondering, you already kind of answered it earlier in the ring, but hearing San Antonio chant your name through the entire time, I mean, how does that even make you feel?
Accomplished, for sure. To be a teenager here, and as a young boy, I was always terrified of conflict. My entire life I was terrified of conflict, and that's where this was all born from, was just I wanted to stop being so afraid. And so I started to make this narrative up in my head that I can become a UFC fighter someday, because I would watch these guys on TV and they were like demigods, and I wanted to be that, and I didn't believe in it. And to be able to live that full circle moment and be here in the AT&T, where I've watched the Spurs win championships and watched so many great people perform in my city, it just feels like such an accomplishment and such a presence for myself to be proud of, and just kind of showcase to anybody else that might be watching this and doubting themselves that they can accomplish whatever as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
CJ, I know that you want to fix some things going into your first round, but you did give one hell of a show, and it was like, ups and downs throughout that fight. I know you would rather, go in there and take no damage and whatnot and get a clean victory, but is part of you kind of happy that you did put on such a crazy show? Because the crowd went crazy, and rarely that happens for, such an early fight.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good point, and as much as I want to be this clean showcasing of a skill fighter, there's just a part of me that's just a bit messy and chaotic, and I know that when the fight gets ugly, there's a different level of me that rises, and like you said, it makes a show, and at the end of the day, man, I'm a performer. I love to perform. I love to hear the crowd react, and this entire way of existing just brings me so much life and fuel. So yeah, to have that kind of that little bit of a Cinderella situation in there, the comeback and the of taking damage and then evading and then overcoming and adapting, man, it's a great story to tell.
Yeah, I wonder when you're hurt, right, and he's sort of chasing you down, are you thinking at that point, or thoughts going through your head, or is it just like survival mode?
It feels like a deja vu whenever I get rocked, and I've told this to many people before. Whenever I get clipped, I know it's been clipped good when I have this weird deja vu experience of like, oh, I've been here before. And it's almost like if I give into that thought too much, I start to I get dizzier and dizzier. So when he clipped me and I had that deja vu, he clipped me again, and I thought, damn, I need to get present because I needed to survive. So for me, like I said previously, I trusted my lateral movement, my strength and conditioning program. It just, my legs are in really, really good condition for this fight, so I just evaded as much as I could, and I could slowly feel my legs getting back under me. I feel like I have a pretty good chin and ability to overcome.
Yeah. And last question for me, you had mentioned on the media day that this was on your bucket list. Just curious, what else is on the bucket list for your MMA career?
Main event here in San Antonio. I mean, that's the next big step for me. I feel like the organization, Dana, Sean, and Mick saw the ovation that I brought with the crowd, and as long as I go out there and continue performing the way that I do, my next big goal in this is to secure 3 more finishes this year, but before the end of the year or sometime next year, main event here in San Antonio.
CJ, me over here.
Yes.
With guys like yourself, Zach Borrego, Alex Hernandez, what do you think about the San Antonio MMA scene?
I feel like it's underrated, because you have like ATT, AKA, you've got the Denver gyms, and they get so much clout and so much recognition because you've got these big names in there, a bunch of top 10 guys in there, and I've trained with Team Alpha Male, I've trained with Factory X, and don't get me wrong, they're great gyms, but for me, it's always been about having my coach, Pete Spratt, and having the relationship that we have. He's like my second father, so as long as I have the trust in him, I've never needed anything else. Now, don't get me wrong, I'll cross-train, but here in San Antonio, we're also starting to embrace each other more. I think that for a while here in the city, it was very much segregated almost. It was like factions, like don't go to this gym if you go to this gym. But I feel like there's a brotherhood and camaraderie because we all want the same thing. And even though we may face each other eventually, right now we're all going towards the same thing. So I think that you're going to see, along with myself, other guys like Alex Hernandez and Zach Borrego start to rise up to the occasion more and more. And I mean, this city there's a bunch of dogs out here, man. There's everybody in here likes to scrap. So you guys will see more guys on the roster from San Antonio.
I got one more for you.
Sure.
You came out to El Rey. How hard of a decision was that, if even hard at all?
So it was between that one and Tragos Amargos by Ramon Ayala. So whenever I'm out at bars or fiesta or any events, those songs, or a Selena song, when this come on, I mean, I'm talking the entire crowd goes crazy. So I was watching Narcos with my brother a few weeks ago, and there's an episode where Young Choppa was at a party, and this big drug dealer in there is screaming the lyrics to that song. And I actually never translated the lyrics in my head. So I looked up the lyrics and I was like, okay, that's the one. For sure.
My grandma's favorite song, bro.
Yeah, bro, mine too. Cheers, bro.
Thank you, bro.
Hey, CJ, so from one San Antonio boy to another, man, incredible
I see the phone
fight.
case, dog.
Incredible fight. Hey, listen, from Vicente Fernandez, the Rocky S-type comeback, where does this rank in your favorite fights, bouts, and finishes?
I mean, it's leaps and bounds above anything else I've ever done in my career. Amateur, pro, UFC, regional, boxing, anything. This is just, and no matter where my career goes, no matter where it takes me, whether I become champion or not, whether I go on to fight at MSG again or O2 Arena or freaking anywhere, Saitama Arena, it doesn't matter where. Fighting here in San Antonio tonight, this is like the Super Bowl of my life. This is something that I will cherish for the rest of my life. And I was as present as I could possibly be and just overwhelmed with emotion.
Yeah, you mentioned the next bucket list item is main event here in San
Yeah.
Antonio. Do you have a name you're looking at maybe possibly in the future that you think might be up there when you want to come back?
Man, my dream fight in this division is Kai Kara France. I mean, I love that dude. I love it. I love the way he fights. I love his energy. So if I could write this story myself, it'd be cool to see Kai here in San Antonio someday,
Yeah, perfect. Congrats, man.
Thank you, my friend.
CJ over here. Talk about having your Laredo family here, your uncles Louis, Lalo, cousins, Jackie's here, your whole family's here.
Of course. So, ever since I was a child, you know how the Mexican family culture is. I've been so closely, it's just tight-knit. And from the regional scenes, they started, at first, when I was younger in this, I would say like early 20s, I had a bout in my early pro career where I dealt with 7 injuries back to back to back. I'm talking, I broke my hand 4 times, ACL, shoulder. My family started to say things like, hey, we know that you love we love this, but there's got to be a plan B. But for me, I burned that ship a long time ago. This was the only plan I've ever had, and I never had anything else. And when they started to see the determination and the ambition I really had for it, they really got behind it and have been ever since. So, they all have kids, and I'm really close with my nephews and cousins, and to be able to know that they were here present to witness this, it's just, I feel like forever is going to be such an inspiration for my family. And I've always prided myself on being the best role model that I can be, even though I may not always live up to that standard, but just be somebody that the younger generations of my family can look up to, and somebody that I can be proud of as well. So I know my family's proud of me, and I am as well.
Hi, CJ. Do you think you're going to get the performance of the night bonus or a fight of the night bonus, or maybe even both at this point?
Damn. Man, I hope so. I feel like I went out there and I was free in my body tonight. I expressed myself, and that is who I am. I was very, very raw in my expression of violence tonight. And if it brings me a bonus, then, I'm going to go blow it on a Rolex. and then figure out what I'm going to do for rent next month. But scotch and soda ain't cheap, you know what I'm saying?
And as a victorious hometown hero, how do you even begin to plan to celebrate for tonight with your friends and family?
We got a really cool after party at 1902 downtown, so that's going to be the start of it. And I'm actually doing a post-fight celebration with one of the ringside doctors, and then, I know that my family's going to want to do something tomorrow. And I've talked to my coaches. I'm like, hey man, if I win this fight, we're going to need to ground me quicker, because sometimes I'll freaking put on 20 pounds in between fights. So I need to have my little cake, you know, have my cerveza or two for a week or whatever, and just bring it right back down and humble myself and get right back into training, because there's a lot of improvements I need to make. There's some dogs out here in this division.
Awesome. Congrats on the win.
Thank you, sir.